Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on Professional Wrestling, the podcast, with what I feel to be the greatest wrestler of all time. That's where he's headed, and pretty much already there.
Well, you
Mason
know it.
Rush.
Soon everyone will know it.
Absolutely. He is Mr. Mason Rush, and I am,
Pleasure to be here yet again.
and I'm the special counsel to him, the wise man,
Wise man, Mr. Chosen Lawyer.
Paul Heyman in training, chosen lawyer. Mason Rush, we've had you on for some interesting information on the world of wrestling. I love, when we're having our training sessions together in the gym, pumping iron, talking wrestling, obviously, you see wrestling through a totally different set of eyes. I grew up on this stuff. I was reading encyclopedias. I did everything a wrestling manager
You are an
should be doing.
encyclopedia. That's what I tell people.
I've probably forgotten more about wrestling than a lot of people ever know. That's okay. I actually sat with wrestling encyclopedias as a kid and read all about them. I used to watch wrestling from Puerto Rico when that wasn't even a thing. I just loved it. I loved everything about it from the time I was a kid. That's the way it goes. And so
And
I
now
see.
you're the best manager in the business.
You don't have to say anymore. So next.
All right.
Let's jump into it because I need to know your takes on this. And I want to know, I bring up certain names. I know I feel a certain way about them. I have my opinion on them. But what does Mason Rush think about these guys? So whatever context you want to see it as, Mason, I just throw out the name. Tell me what stuff comes out of your mind instantly, okay? We'll go one by one.
Do it. I
Numero
like this game.
uno. Freshly squeezed, no longer champion, whatever. He had the international belt. Because remember, in AEW, everybody gets a belt.
Yep.
Pretty much, there's
Participation trophy.
participation belt.
It's, yeah.
So you got 6-man tag team belts. One day they'll have mixed gender
4-man
belts.
tag, yeah.
Lord knows what they got.
Whatever they want. Everybody who gets a belt.
He had the All-Atlantic belt, which
Yeah.
I don't know what that means exactly, but it became an international belt. Now Jon Moxley's holding on to that belt. But freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, what comes to your mind when you hear that name?
Whatever. I'm just kidding. That's I think again, gimmicks. This guy found something. I was watching, I don't know, it was like 10 years of Orange Cassidy, and it just really showed how the guy honed in on this gimmick of not carrying and the whole shtick that he's got going on, which again, when you believe in your gimmick, regardless of what it is, it's gonna take off, right? You watch AEW, you see kids in full jean outfits with sunglasses. They do what do we do when we walk into the gym? Every time, right? The same Orange Cassidy.
How many reps do you want me to do? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. What are we doing today? Whatever. It's a cool gimmick. It's different, and I think it resonates with a lot of people. That's one of the few gimmicks in AEW that would pass in WWE, which I think is why people seem to like it. You get your crossover fans, right? Who it's a gimmick. It's funny. It's showy, right?
Whoa.
I think
Orange Cassidy would work in WWE in your estimation?
I think his gimmick would go along with a shoosh, thank you. It's that kind of childish, juvenile. Yeah, we laugh at it the same way we laugh at shoosh, the same way we laugh at Street Profits. It's right. It's not serious. So I do think that one of the few gimmicks that would transfer, MJF would not, right? That wouldn't work in the WWE. But I think Orange Cassidy, the outfit, the gimmick, he's also, right? That's that small physique, right? Ricochet. You see these guys that are able to overcome what they would not have been able to overcome 20 years ago in the Attitude Era, being 6 feet, 180 pounds.
Interesting. Now, because from my end of things, so first of all, Orange Cassidy, remember, we were in the crowd live when he won
We were.
at the time, the
Live
Atlantic
at the
Championship.
Coca-Cola Coliseum.
Before that, I was always joking with you, Orange Cassidy. Like, that was the joke wrestler to me
Correct.
until I saw the whole shtick.
Kind of like Dom Mysterio.
And then when they pulled out the bag and he put the belt in the bag, I was sold.
He throws it in the ring, doesn't care. It's a good gimmick.
If I need to start off a Dynamite, which by the way, I do love watching Dynamite. I know you're not as much in love with it as I am, but
I watch it. I like it. I respect it.
if you're gonna start off, I'd rather see an Orange Cassidy match then a Jon Moxley bleeding match to start my night.
Oh,
So we'll get to Jon Moxley in a moment. Don't worry. But Orange Cassidy, I love the gimmick as well.
great gimmick.
It's perfect. I think if he goes to WWE, your future 24/7 champion at best. I think they're going to bury this guy so
Yeah, you get-
deep
you get-
down
you
main
get
event.
a
It's ridiculous.
24/7 championship. Akira Tozawa, Orange Cassidy. Who wins?
Or he's going to be your future NXT champion. But anyways, we love the guy and kudos to him. The next guy who is more growing on me by the day and more revolts you is Mr. CM Punk. You know what the CM stands for, right?
I do. I actually do. It's Chick Magnet Punk is I believe what that stands for.
I think that's actually pretty freaking awesome. And
Mr. Punk.
Mr. Punk. And you know what? Watching him live, everything week to week, I hope this is not the end of him in professional wrestling because it's a guy that I love to hate. But you know what? It's kind of growing on me too. It gives me a reason to kind of watch Collision, except in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Good luck in getting Collision because it's not on regular TV. You have to order a subscription to another service.
ESN
for that.
Plus.
I don't understand. You're trying to build up a whole viewer base. You're taking 2 out of your 3 shows and putting it on a subscription channel that nobody knows exists and how to get it.
Or wants to
Why
watch.
would they? I mean, I would Rampage. If you paid me $50, I might watch it for free TV. But for me to pay to watch Rampage, I don't know about that.
I don't know.
But I digress.
I digress. Usually after SmackDown, I'm pretty tired, and I don't want to watch another 2 hours of AEW. But that's just me.
Before the whole Jack Perry incident and the suspensions and all in, all out, whatever, back to back, whatever, I lose track of
Triple
those.
B.
But before
sure.
all that shtick, and we have CM Punk, and he was the new unofficial champion because he never lost the belt. Take on CM Punk.
I think CM Punk is the same way we talk about, again, gimmick, right? I think his gimmick is that you never know if he's in character or not. I think, and I think people like that, right? I think he went to the UFC, right, where he was. I think he might have
Battered.
been. Whether was he Phil Brooks or CM Punk? I don't remember what
I-
he
I
was, but
think
either
I
way,
think he was CM Punk.
right?
Yeah.
Whatever he was, right?
Yeah.
He learned stuff there. I think that his whole mystique is a work, and I don't think he would be where he is today if, when it's all said and done, and he calls his buddies at the end of the night, if he wasn't a nice guy deep down. I can only say that because you don't get that far in the business if, when it's all said and done, you're not a nice person. I've seen it.
My feeling is the people that do love him, like, would take a razor blade for him. Like, they are loyal to him. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things, you love him or you hate him. There's nothing in between. If I'm putting my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers,
Tell me,
he is on it.
right? Of course.
Chick Magnet ain't.
Got it. Okay. I
Not
thought you were
even-
going there.
No,
That would have been a
he-
different story. Okay.
No, he ain't.
Got it. Okay.
But it
I
wor-
agree with that. I think he's
Remember, I wasn't in that era. He was in that whole DX era.
at the end of the day, it's relevance, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. He's very relevant in the wrestling world, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. Everyone's always talking about CM Punk.
we
and I
talk
think
about
that's
him
all that
right now
matters.
almost every single week.
That's it.
So he achieved his purpose.
That's it, right? And whether or not it's a work, he's getting more famous, which is all that he wants.
Do you remember? So let's go to the next guy. Do you remember a faction called the Shield?
I do.
All right.
I do.
Can you name me off the 3 guys in the order of success in the industry? In your estimation,
Success in the
who is
industry.
for the most success in
So-
the industry? If you had to think right now, who has done the best? Who's the biggest name? Who has achieved the most? What is your order of the Shield?
I feel like the obvious answer is Roman Reigns because he's the tribal chief. With that being said, personally, I'm a fan of fighting champions. So I'll always take a guy on my team that's not too cool for school, always shows up, fights every week, broken back, broken spine, broken freaking neck, smallest violin, whatever you want to say. I would argue that personally, I think Rollins, while he doesn't sell as much and he's not as valuable as a Universal Champion, Raw would not be able to run the same without him, whereas SmackDown runs every week without Roman Reigns.
Interesting. Whereas for me, Roman being one of the longest reigning of all time.
Oh, and then there's Dean Ambrose.
Well, we'll get to him in a moment, but
Yeah.
let's say I'm definitely Roman in number one. You're Rollins. We will agree.
It's a 1A, 1B, I think, for me. And then an obvious C.
So we'll agree that we both have 1 and 2 there.
Yep.
Waldo at number 3 has got to be Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley. Not even close.
So not even close. So not even close. And it's a shame. It's a shame, too, because he's great.
So tell me, you hear the name Jon Moxley, what comes to your mind?
Blood.
This blood?
That's it. Blood and just over the top nonsense. I hate to say it. I know people like it. I know people will watch it and razor blades to the skull but it's so not my style of wrestling that I appreciate Dean Ambrose, right? That was a little bit of that crazy edgy, but WWE kind of kept it in line, whereas I feel like he just goes and does whatever he wants every single night in AEW, and that's what you get.
I can live with Jon Moxley, when Wild Thing starts to play. I like that.
Yeah.
I like the walking through the audience.
Agreed.
I like the Wheeler Yuta Claudio thing.
Hey, Claudio is.
And I'm the Wheeler guy. And you know what? The whole,
Bryan Danielson.
No, but the faction, the
Blackpool.
Blackpool. I see Liverpool
without the man from Blackpool.
but the guy from Blackpool's gone. But there's still a Blackpool Combat Club, which makes zero sense to me.
Sense.
But they walk out, and then he starts to talk. And as soon as he talks, he loses me in the first 5 minutes with his rambles.
Yep.
I can tell he's totally freestyling this. It's
Yep.
very, very painfully obvious.
Yep.
And whenever he has to start a night for us, we know the blood's going to come out. My always question is, what does Renee Paquette see in this guy? I don't get it. Like, is he this annoying at home? Like, he must be different.
They have to have started when he was Dean Ambrose, and he was the Shield, and he was one of the top guys, and she was one of the top girls at interviewing and doing all the backstage stuff. Ladies, sorry. And it had to have been when he was at the height of his career, because I mean, unless she appreciates that, then good for her. But that's I don't see it.
I was reading from my sources that they feel the greatest thing that happened to Orange Cassidy's career is, in fact, losing the belt to Jon Moxley, because he could fight a level of a Moxley. Because the kind of guys he was fighting, were not as the top rung.
More mid.
I think he gave him everything he could handle. And you know what? Mox gets his participation championship because he put in his time, so everybody gets a belt at some point.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with him having the belt. But Mox walking around with the what is it? Not Atlantic Championship, the international, whatever the name it is today, TNA. I don't know, whatever it is. But I'm okay with it. But to me, Moxley now is a middle rung guy at best. He's not your top guy. He was your heavyweight champion at some point, but this is not where he is in his career. His job now is more to put over the younger guys, in my estimation, and make them look good as the top heel.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I think that Tony Khan is afraid to guide him in the right direction, and let's basically, like, all of that has to be his own decisions, right? There's no one telling him he's got to bleed every single night, right? Like, even Jericho once in a while will bleed when it's necessary, and that's fine. But the over the top blood almost seems like, because WWE has no blood, it's like let's double down on this. No pun intended with their names of their matches, but double down on 10 times the blood, because they can't have it, so we're gonna have all of it, and it just doesn't do it for me.
We'll agree on that one. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, we touched upon them before from Payback. You hear those names, what instantly pops in your head?
Work ethic. Two guys that came from nothing. I mean, so Rip Impact, my coach, is friends with them, trained with them when they were in Canada, learning from them. Even I've learned from some guys that have, through separation, have trained with them or trained them, and they all say the same thing. These guys work incredibly hard. They put their bodies on the line when no one was watching. They put their bodies on the line in front of a packed stadium at Payback, and wrestling is their life. And when it's your work ethic, you have your gimmick, you have all these things that work together, it's hard to stop that, right? And when you're a good person behind the scenes, which they both are, people want you to succeed. And that's how they've made it to the top. It's not through physique. It's not through overpowering athleticism or strength. It's work ethic. It's good mic work, and it's authenticity. And that's what I would say about those two. And you put in enough work, and you will be rewarded with tag team belts, although not very long. You still get the glory for a little bit.
They did have it for a while. Now Kevin Owens was injured and now
Yep.
injured again. But to me, they're the Rudy of wrestling. You
Yeah,
know,
Absolutely.
these are guys that do not.
The underdog.
They don't look like it. Like Sami Zayn looks like he works at a movie theater. Like,
Yeah.
serving me popcorn. He
Yeah.
doesn't look like the guy who's a professional wrestler. Like, they don't look like they're in the gym
Yeah.
every day. Kevin Owens.
They're both t-shirts, pants, the
Yeah,
whole right.
for skinny
Yeah.
and not so skinny.
Yeah.
But you know what? I like their intensity. Kevin Owens, I like how he jumps back and forth from heel face. And you remember he was against Roman Reigns and they had their grueling match. You remember he had the match against Stone Cold. It's pretty freaking cool what this guy's
100%.
accomplished, where people probably thought he ain't gonna make it that far. And Sami Zayn with the conspiracy theorist,
Yeah.
good on them.
The Uso, that whole, that
Good.
that propelled him. But I would say too, right? Again, it's what's your market. If you only had LA Knights and Gunther's and top physique guys, it's less easy to relate to, right? Would you say that more people in an audience look like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, or LA Knight and The Miz, or LA Knight and Finn Balor? Like who is more common looking, right? And you can't have them all look like that, but some people do. Oh, I look like that. That's cool.
Take Judgment Day. How many people look like Dom? Tons.
Yeah, tons.
And he's the glue.
Yep.
Bloodline.
Yep.
You don't have Sami Zayn as part of that bloodline gimmick, it ain't going nowhere. He's the one who made them
Yep.
that bloodline, you know? So
All those days doing promos and trying to break everyone's character. That's the authenticity that people like. And if it was just serious Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, without the comedy side of Sami Zayn, I agree. I don't think it would have gone as far as it did for as long as it did.
next name on the list, we got a couple more left. Stardust. Sorry, I mean Cody Rhodes.
So, what do you want to talk about?
Is that not getting old already? Come on.
It's got to be the worst catchphrase in all of WWE.
If I went on a
cringiest
first date,
catchphrase.
I'm like, so what do you want to talk about? You know what? She'd probably grab the bill or just head off.
What if
right
you
away.
went, acknowledge me on the first date?
That's more of a
How
third.
would that go?
Maybe more of a third date.
Yeah, let's save that for the third date.
But okay, so you actually agreed that he's a little cringy at this point.
I mean, again, it's. I think Cody Rhodes is on that same Gable realm, right? Where we can't just appeal to macho bearded dudes. We have to appeal to kids 10, 11, 12 that are buying our belts, buying our gear. That's why you create those characters. 100%, right? Cody Rhodes with the weightlifting belt, the kissing, giving to a kid every time. He ain't giving it to grown-ass men. He's giving it to kids. Why? That's how you promote a sport, right? From grassroots levels. So Cody Rhodes, I don't think American Nightmare, I don't think that gimmick is meant to appeal to me or you. That's meant to appeal to kids who like looking at heroic figures, the costume, the gear, the hair, the kindness, right? He comes out in a suit.
Do you remember another guy wearing a weightlifting belt to the ring and told you to say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and train?
Yeah, that's
The Hulkster.
The Hulkster.
So when the Hulkster was done, then they bring in Lex Luger, all-American Lex Luger, made him into a face because he looked good on the side of the trucks as they go town to
Yeah.
town. Because we need our all-American face to really inspire the crowd.
But he didn't have the total package,
Although people thought he did.
right?
And Cody Rhodes to me is now, I'm not going to say a Hulk Hogan ripoff, but we need that level of face
Yeah.
where people are going to hear the song, they're going to sing,
Yeah.
they're going to get excited. And you know what? It's working for what it is. But for those of us that love heels,
The role model character, right?
yes,
That's why I
the
think
role
Cody
model
Rhodes.
character.
So,
yes.
so I would say that personally, I don't mind it. It's okay, I get it. But yeah, no, I don't think Cody Rhodes' gimmick is meant to appeal to me, right? When he fights Brock Lesnar, I want Brock Lesnar to win. Whether or not he does, I'm more of a Lesnar guy. But again, you look in the audience and there's people, American Nightmare signs, Cody Rhodes going crazy. So that's the goal, is to cater to as many people as possible, and that's why Cody Rhodes is doing so well.
American Nightmare.
American Nightmare.
In America, because remember,
Handsome Cody.
it is a big population.
Yep.
It's a big wrestling base.
Huge.
How do you incite people to get excited in American crowds? USA.
USA.
And he's the American Nightmare.
He's the American Nightmare. He's got the lineage. He's got the story.
I think the story's been told and done, but
For now, till there's a new story.
fair enough. Last guy on the list today as we end today's episode, and he was a last-minute addition, but I'm really intrigued by him because I kind of thought he was more looking like a leprechaun out there with his
What do you
head
say?
to his
No, it was
body.
the Funko toy. Who called him a Funko toy? The head bigger than his body?
Kind of looks like one, but you know what? Our producer David talked about the fact that he is one of the most talented wrestlers out there. You might know him as Jordan Devlin, but he's really JD McDonough. So you hear JD McDonough, besides being a Funko toy, what do you think about?
I don't know much about JD McDonough. From what I've seen, I like it. He's what do we know? We know that he's a Finn Balor prodigy. We know that they train at the same gym. They come from the same kind of upbringing.
Could have a lot worse trainer than Finn
Well,
Balor.
that's what I'm saying. One of my personal favorite wrestlers. So
If Finn called us
just-
today, we're off to Ireland. Like,
just that alone gives him enough credibility. He did very well in NXT, right? He built a great reputation. And again, you've seen they brought 15, 20 people over from NXT in the draft, and how many of them are on even once a week? There's very, very few.
have you seen Cameron Grimes? Because I've heard he's around.
Yeah, we saw him when we went, and he was doing the dark match.
Have you seen Alba Fire and Isla Dawn? I don't know where they
I
went.
don't even know if they do dark matches, right? And all these people were top of the game in NXT. So I think if you make the crossover and you just get any storyline, it means they have big plans for you. So that goes along with who you know, right? If you're friends with Finn Balor and he's vouching for you, that's going to get you a long way. But I don't think that we've seen all that JD McDonough has to offer yet, even close.
So Mason, I gotta ask you a question because it kills me as a wrestling fan. Besides being a manager, I gotta know as a fan. I see these guys out there, and like JD McDonough's killing it in NXT, right?
Yep.
Comes over to WWE. Why does he have to lose every single time? Like, why do they bring these guys just to job them? Why can't they just make them into instant stars?
I think they do, which is why we haven't seen Braun Breaker yet. Right? I think that there's certain people that they come in and you pay your dues, right? Like we just talked about that with LA Knight, with Chad Gable. These guys lost for years. He went from long hair to Alpha Academy to American Alpha to being Kurt Angle's guy to being Jordan Jefferson's guy. Like these guys are all over the place, and yeah, I think that when it comes down to JD McDonough, I think that there's a big future for him.
You've come from the Muay Thai world, CrossFit, bodybuilding. Like, you know, you're now in world of professional wrestling. Why is it every single place you're in? What is it about sports and sports entertainment that everybody's got to pay dues? Why can't we just have it right now? What is it about paying dues that makes you into a star in the future?
I think that I've like we touched on before. I've played almost every sport you can play, and there's no dues to pay. The first time in my life I've ever done something where it doesn't matter what you look like, how much money you have, where you come from, where you live. You're setting up a ring, right? It doesn't matter who you are. You could literally drive there in your Porsche, and you're gonna go and tie the canvas to the mats. And if you don't, you're not gonna progress, no matter how good you actually are or think you are. And that's a huge part of the sport. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters the effort you put in. So when you see these guys succeeding, and you're like, I don't get it. There's probably a lot behind the scenes, whether it's helping young people or setting up or taking down or promoting, whatever that they're doing that's getting them those pushes.
I got to tell you, as your manager, it's a pleasure to carry your bags and make sure you make it to city to city.
Someone has to, right? I mean, I can't.
He's Mason Rush. You ain't. This is Professional Wrestling, the podcast. We'll see y'all back soon.